There are a number of reasons why I wanted to bring my testimony and intellectual property to this format. First of all, going back to the 30s and 40s, graphic novels or comics have been used for propaganda during wartime and peace to convey information. You have a lot of information that is conveyed in a picture. A picture is worth 1,000 words. So this is a way of really getting the information into the mass consciousness, and this is more of a matrix meets the esoteric world. It's has a positive message and a message of ascension and overcoming evil. One of the other reasons why I decided that I would like to bring this information to a graphic novel is that it is a perfect way to storyboard out other ideas like motion pictures, series on televisions, graphic novels, even animation. This is something that could be animated. So I see this going in a lot of different directions, and from the beginning, that was in my mind when I decided to bring it to the graphic novel format. So the process that we've been going through is Stephen Cefalo. He's a fine artist. He's bringing, I believe, graphic novel art to a whole new level. We converse back and forth, and I talk about actual scenes from my testimony in my life history, and he recreates that in a very beautiful and captivating format. The way he does his art.
Like most professional artists, I have drawn my whole life. Um, but I've always been interested in the sort of the whole scope of art making and picture making. As long as I can remember, I've been drawing, and I had a comic strip that I would make and have my mom run off at work, and on a Xerox machine, and I'd distribute them to my classmates. When I was a little bit older, I had my own comic. My best friend and I, Greg, we made our own comic book that was a superhero comic book, and my mom would run it off and staple it at work, and we would sell these 20-page comics to our classmates for $1 a piece. Um, Always been studying the art form. Even during my more fine art related years, I read many books on making comics. I studied art at the School of Visual Arts in New York City, where I had the privilege of studying with some of the greatest living painters. At the same time, I also studied illustration, so I was still kind of straddling both of those worlds of illustration and fine art. Professionally, my jobs in art have ranged all the way from being an assistant to the pop artist Jeff Koons in New York City twice, also being an in-house illustrator for Rugrats at Nickelodeon in Times Square. I taught drawing and painting traditionally for 13 years in college as well. Corey's testimony reached me at a very interesting crossroads in my life. I'd just come out of a divorce. I've just gone through a major shift in my life. For me, I think my fine art career was coming to an end the more I woke up. Discovering the disclosure narrative was a complete game changer in that I realized, oh wow, there's something way more important than me going on out there. And I right away wanted to be a part of it in some way. And I think it was during listening to one of David Wilcock's books on audio that I discovered Corey's testimony. And I was just so fascinated right away with Corey's story, and I had to find more of this testimony online because it's just so far out there, but then so believable at the same time. The way it's presented, it all made perfect sense and fit together, and everything that I sort of enjoyed learning about and wondering about was all in this testimony somewhere. and I think just the visuals that it produced for me as I listened to him were one of the most interesting aspects of it. And so right away, I felt like, oh boy, I would love to to have something to do with putting these stories into pictures.
So we see the graphic novel broken up into a trilogy. The first one will be covering the MyLab programs and my introduction into the secret space program. The MyLab programs were where I was identified as an intuitive empath, and because that skill was highly coveted within these secret programs, I was brought into a program as a child and groomed and trained up until the age of just before 17, and then I was brought into a secret space program. And the whole premise of 20 and Back is that we spend 20 years in this program and then our age regressed and time regressed to the point in time where it first began. And apparently I served 3 of these. So there is a whole narrative that we have to go through of me, figuring that out. And the second graphic novel is going to be more of the time in the secret space program that I served and the process of being debriefed and coming back, and then first being introduced into normal life. The third graphic novel is going to cover more of what has occurred since then. How since then I had been brought back here and there into this secret space program, but mainly things really began to unravel 20 years after my 20 and Back series, that I began having contact with this higher density being. And we refer to them as the blue avians. And the blue avians are 6th density beings, and they're in league with a group of other higher density beings, like these blue orbs, blue spheres. We have the golden triangle head beings. We have the Anshar. We have a number of other groups that are really ethnically diverse. That's one of the things that, as my testimony comes out and we find out more and more about extraterrestrial life out there, we find out that they are human, very human, and they're not all Caucasian, as we see in the media, not all blonde hair, blue eyed. Most of them are people of color, of different types. And the local 52 stars are inhabited by our cosmic cousins. And a big part of the third graphic novel will be me coming in contact with these guardians and also these related extraterrestrial races.
It's just incredibly important to me that I captured the essence of Corey's experience as accurately as possible. And not just the essence, but even a lot of the details. It's important to me that the time period is accurately depicted. That as many of the details as possible. I asked Corey all sorts of details, like what was the lighting situation like? What was in the background? Any details that help fill out the reality of the scene and that put him back in that moment, and that help to put the viewer in the moment as well.
Having your life story depicted in a graphic novel can be very emotional. Some of these scenes, scenes from my childhood, scenes with family members that were having a difficult time during that time period, who now have become very positive people. But looking back that far in time and revisiting the scene so it can be recreated in art, it forced me to kind of revisit some of those traumas. And in some cases, it's been a bit of a healing process. And in helping Stephen come up with imagery, it has actually helped me sharpen my memory and help me remember more details from my testimony.
I want to address some people's concerns about us making a graphic novel or making a comic to tell such a profoundly serious story. although a fantastical one, it's also one that has very grave and serious implications. The word comics is perhaps misleading to people who aren't very familiar with the art form. Of course, comics started out as funny papers, but evolved into something that is often very serious. The word still kind of sticks, and that's okay. But comics aren't just for joking around. Sometimes they're for telling a very serious story, and this story is handled very seriously. There are gags in there now and then. There is comic relief. We have little Easter eggs in there, so to speak, for people to discover, and those might kind of give you a smile here and there. I want to tell the story as accurately as possible, as well as in a way that is cinematic and theatrical and captivating, and continues to sort of dazzle and inspire the viewer. I tried as much as possible to take me out of the picture and to get out of the way of the story. At the same time, it's very important for me to constantly make these images as impactful as possible, and for each page to sort of offer a little surprise as you turn the pages. It's so hard to pick a favorite page. Every page is so much fun to draw and to develop. And I look forward to creating these pages every day. Every day I wake up and I cannot wait to work on this graphic novel.
We'll be making updates on social media, sending out mass emails to those who pre-ordered the graphic novel, and we'll be making also additional updates as they come in about the progress of the novel. Make sure you're connected with us on social media. Sphere Being Alliance, Facebook. We have Sphere Being Alliance Twitter, and we are on pretty much all of the social media platforms. So whichever one you prefer, follow us there, and you should be getting updates here very soon. And we're very happy that we will be finally sending out the pre-ordered version of the graphic novel, which is going to be a limited edition, collector's edition. So the patience is going to pay off for those who had pre-ordered. And thank you very much for pre-ordering and supporting us in this project. And we look forward to getting out the next 3 graphic novels, and also movies, TV series, whatever we can based on this information, to get the information out to the mass consciousness. This is about ascension. It's about being a better society. It's about coming in contact with our cosmic cousins and expanding our consciousness and technology to a point of it being pretty much what we consider science fiction right now, and that's obtainable in our lifetime. Thank you for watching the Sphere Being Alliance channel. Make sure you click on subscribe and smash the bell to make sure you're receiving all the new content from the Sphere Being Alliance YouTube channel.